Welcome back to another episode of the Midnight Writers Club, the podcast where we explore how stories work and why they matter. Today's theme: perspective. Not just whose story gets told, but how the very angle from which it's told changes everything. Whether it's a novel, a film, or a whispered memory, perspective can shift a narrative from truth to myth, from victim to villain, from a place where we think we know to one we can never fully enter. Today, we'll talk about how stories fracture, reshape, and reassemble when we change the lens, and why it matters. Perspective in literature isn't just about first person versus third person. It's about context, distance, and power. Think of a camera. Pull back and you see the landscape. Zoom in and you notice a crack in the glass. Both images are true. Both tell different stories. Take The Hired Man by Aminatta Forna. From Durrell's perspective, the village is a layered place, scarred by war, secrets, and silence. But to Laura, the outsider who buys the house, the same village feels quaint and mysterious. One place, two stories. The narrative tension comes from those colliding perspectives. Let's try a thought experiment. Imagine a couple is getting divorced, like in my story, Side A, Side B. They're dividing their belongings, sitting on the floor with a stack of records they've collected over the decades. The scene is seemingly mundane until one person picks up an album and says, "Remember when we danced to this on our anniversary?" The other responds, "You were crying in the bathroom that night." And I'm just paraphrasing, but you get the point. It's the same album, the same night, but different truths. And that's what perspective does. It reveals the emotional geography of memory. And as we've seen in works like Lone Star and Stranger with a Camera, history itself is unstable depending on who's holding the lens. Is the sheriff a hero or a revisionist? Is the filmmaker documenting or exploiting? In storytelling, perspective is a weapon. Think about it. What we don't know, or only partially understand, is what unsettles us. If you're inside the mind of a terrified child, the dark is full of monsters. But if you're in the parent's point of view, it might just be a power outage. Perspective is the ghost in narrative, the thing that haunts the truth. So how can we as writers use this to our advantage? Choose an unreliable narrator. Not because they lie, but because they're human. Tell the same event from two perspectives. Let the tension live in the space between them. Rate a setting like in Invisible Cities, where the place is shaped by the person describing it, making the geography emotional, not just physical. Try filtering emotional truths through different lenses. Guilt, denial, jealousy. Not all perception looks the same. And don't forget, sometimes the most chilling moment is when a character realizes they've had the story wrong the whole time. Thank you for joining me on this journey through perspective. In storytelling, as in life, how we look changes what we see. And sometimes, the scariest thing is realizing the angle we've chosen isn't the whole truth. See you next time on Midnight Writers Club. This podcast episode explores the theme of perspective as both a narrative device and a philosophical lens. Engaging directly with text from our Geocriticism Literature course. Works like The Dewbreaker and The Hired Man underscore how trauma, history, and silence shape personal and national identities through conflicting viewpoints. Films like Stranger with a Camera and Lone Star show how narrative control determines legacy and morality. By examining how storytelling shifts based on who is speaking and what they see, or fail to see, the episode connects literary theory with practice, encouraging writers to consider the emotional and political weight of viewpoint, especially in genres where perspective can be as destabilizing as plot itself.